Good morning, movers, and welcome back to Move Daily Fitness. My name's Tracy. Okay, this beginner workout is the best strength workout. If you're getting into lifting and you want to start to progressively overload and grow some muscle, this is the one for you. This will be sort of a slash between beginner and intermediate because we are going to hit 3 sets of everything. If you are a true beginner, try this workout, but stop at 1 or 2 sets. All right, the format within the workout is going to be timed, and we'll do 40 seconds of work with 15 seconds to transition. Again, each little circuit will be done for 3 times. Now, you're going to require a variety of dumbbells for the workout today. Here's what I suggest a beginner might start with, but these are for reference, so lift within your own abilities. I'll also use a bench, something to sit on. If you don't have that, I'll show you a modification. We will start with a warm-up and end with a cool down. And if you're looking for more structure in your workouts, coaching in your fitness, wellness, and nutrition, be sure to join our Move Daily membership. It's women like us who do things like this forever and ever. So click or tap the card at the top of the screen or check in the description below. All right, let's do this workout, the perfect full body strength and Move Daily. All right, if you're setting your watch, you could hit traditional strength or functional strength on the watch. They're kind of the same. Functional strength, take it wide, side to side lunge here. Functional strength, we're thinking of some of those functional movement patterns, push, pull, hinge, things that we do to train the muscles that we need in everyday activities. So we'll be doing that, but also focusing on some of those really good traditional strength lifts. All right, hand to toe tap right here. So it's kind of a combo, but that's what's gonna make it perfect. We're gonna hit all of the major muscle groups in the body today. Two more here. And let's go into a torso twist, so alternating sides. Reach. One more here, and hold onto a wall or something for balance. Stationary knee is soft, flex the foot, kickbacks here. Last one here, switch legs and kick. Good. And into a single arm circle here. Switch directions. And other arm. Switch directions. Okay, let's put one hand behind the head, one behind the back. And you're just gonna draw those elbows back, stretching through the torso and the chest. Nice stretch, and switch. Switch again, reach, and switch. Good, let's heel dig right here. Elbows back to stretch your chest. And butt kick with a punch right here. Good, and finishing right with a torso turn. So draw your elbow across. Try to depress the shoulders away from your ears so you're not shrugging. Very nice. All right, take a look at the screen. That's the first circuit coming up. 40 seconds each, and here we go. We're gonna start with a basic squat. Feet are shoulder width apart. If you can't do a regular squat, feel free to do a sit squat. It's a bit easier because we're controlling that down with the bench or the chair. All right, shoulders back. Drop it low and here. So with this squat, I want you to think of pushing the floor apart with your feet. We are gonna add weight as we move through the circuits, but you could keep this body weight the whole time if you need. Try to keep the knees equal distance apart. Don't let the knees collapse. Okay, very good. Going into your one arm row. I'll hold to 12, and I want you to prop yourself up on something so that you're bent in half. We're rowing to the ceiling, and I'll call half on the arm. So we pull, I'm holding that 12 pounds. Last one on this arm, and switch and row. Very nice, and into your bicep curls. Okay, pinwheel curl here. I'll hold 10s, you can do 5s, 8s, 10s, anything in that range. We're gonna cross in front of the body and alternate sides. Knees are soft and stick your chest out, shoulders are back. You're bringing that dumbbell across, but your torso isn't twisting. So in this circuit, you'll notice we did a lower body exercise and 2 pull exercises. All right, so we'll finish this with 3 circuits. Then we'll move to a lower with 2 push exercises. All right, back to the top. If you'd like to hold weights, this is where you can. I'm gonna hold 2 8s in my hand. You can hold them at your shoulders or down by your sides for a suitcase squat. All right, squatting here. Low. Otherwise, you're doing your sit squat if you need. Stay tall in the shoulders. Reach your hips back. And going into our one arm row. Okay, I'm gonna grab a 15 this time. You could use a bench or hinge forward, whatever you like. I'll call half. And we pull. So you're driving that elbow toward the ceiling, pulling the dumbbell like it's coming through quicksand. Just pull. One more here, and switch your arm and pull. Okay, let's go to the biceps. Pinwheel curl. I'm gonna hold 10s. Remember, it's a cross in front of the body. We're flexing that bicep at the top. And curl, switch. Good. Keep your wrists locked in neutral, so you don't want that wrist to bend back when you're pulling the weight up. It's like one piece of your forearm. Let's do our third set. So now you're thinking, what can I do with good form that's gonna challenge my muscles? All right, I am gonna go up to 12s. Again, hold them on the shoulders or by your side for your squat. Drop it low and drive. Again, if you are a beginner, your weight is staying light so that you can show up again tomorrow. If you're an intermediate and you feel like you can do a bit of a challenge on the muscles, this is where you're thinking, okay, what could I lift with at least 2 to 3 reps left in the tank at the end of the 40 seconds? And we're averaging about that 12 reps. So at reps 10, 11, and 12. Is it hard? Is it challenging enough? Good. Into your one arm row. I've showed you a couple ways that you can hold this. I'm gonna hinge right at the hips on this round, holding a 15. And we pull. All right, switch your arm, other side, back is flat, pull. Very nice. And finishing with that pinwheel curl. Okay. Might go up to 12s here, 8s, 10s, 12s, whatever you're comfortable with. And up. Nice control on the down. Very nice. All right, we're gonna take it down to the ground for our 2 push exercises plus a glute thrust for our lower body. So I'm gonna take a 20-pound dumbbell down to the bottom with some lighter ones. You can look at the screen and join me down there. Okay, what are you gonna use for the chest press? I think I'll grab maybe 12s, but you can do 8s, 10s, 12s. So set those down. And we're thinking something lighter for triceps. I'll bring my 8s down here for that tricep extension. Okay, we've got my 20 there for the glute thrust, and that's what we're starting with. Of course, you could do the glute thrust off of the bench if you know how to do that. Otherwise, let's everyone get down to the ground. I'm gonna put that heavier dumbbell on my pelvis. Feet are close to the bottom, and we'll pulse at the top of this lift. Up and pulse, squeezing glutes, then down. Up, pulse, and down. Squeeze, and down. Have a good handle on your dumbbell. And some of you won't have heavier dumbbells. That's okay, you can make this more challenging by pausing longer at the top. Holding 2 lighter dumbbells is an option, or adding a resistance band above the knees could also be an option here. Single leg is also an option, using just body weight, right? Lots of ways to make it more challenging. Let's go into chest press. I'll hold the 12s and you're back on your back again. We're gonna start wide. We're gonna turn and face at the top. All right, get ready. And we push and hover over the ground. Don't bounce your elbows off the ground. Just a nice hover and press. Good. Okay, setting those down and moving to my 8s for that overhead tricep extension. You wanna make sure your shoulder doesn't migrate here. It is totally stationary. Starting position is here. We'll bend at the elbow only, holding 8s, and your back and press. Slow and push, that's it. If you're true beginner, 3s or 5s is probably totally adequate for weight. Maybe even lighter, that's okay. We all have to start somewhere and work our way up. That's the goal. Okay, perfect. That's your circuit. Let's go back to the glute thrust. I'm gonna stick with this 20 on the pelvis. All right, remember, single leg, it could be an option, switching halfway. And up with a pulse and low. So there are always so many ways to make it more challenging, especially if you don't have heavy enough weights, right? A lot of single leg activity is super because you're using so much body weight then, having to hold yourself up or squat or a hinge. So think about that as you progress if you don't have those heavier weights. Nice. All right. Moving into the chest press. I'll stick with the 12s on your back. You're gonna start wide, turn and face each other over the chest, and here we go. Push, hover. Don't go too fast here. Nice control over the chest. Flex at the top. And moving to our tricep extension. Okay, 8s here. Now to make this feel more challenging, you can slow the descent. So really slow on the down. Otherwise, normal, right here and up. Like if you didn't choose heavy enough weights and you want to make this more challenging, just super slow on the down. So you're just keeping more tension for a longer period of time on the muscle, which makes it hard. All right, final set, and we're going back to the glute thrusts. I'll stick with the 20. All right, feet are close to the bottom, adjust as you need, and here we go. Up, pulse, squeeze the glutes, squeeze. Okay, perfect. Going into your chest press. Now, if your weights that you have aren't heavy enough and you want to add a 2-inch pulse at the bottom, that's a way to elevate the game on here without heavier weights. I'll show you. So it's a little pulse and then a full range press. Little pulse, full range press. So again, just keeping tension in that very hard part at the bottom slightly longer. Do it how we were if you'd like, but try this if you wish. Little pulse and press. Okay, and we'll finish off with the tricep extension. There's another way to make this more challenging too if you wish. You could do an iso hold while the other side is working. That's hard though. Okay, here we go. I'm holding 8, so I'm just gonna do that slower descent, slow 2, 3, power up. So we're keeping a little bit more tension on the triceps. But you could do a regular cadence if you wish, or tempo. Very nice. Okay, as you can see, lots of ways to make this more challenging. Let's move back up to standing, clean up your weights, grab some water, join me back. We're moving into some shoulders and lower body. We're going into a sumo squat, so it's a wider stance squat. Now, I am gonna hold maybe a 15-pound dumbbell in the center. You could do this body weight. So nice and wide, toes are slightly turned out, shoulders low and back. And we drop here and squeeze the glutes at the top. If you do have knee issues, you'll find this one is a lot friendlier on the knees. But of course, if you can't do it and you'd rather do something like a clamshell or a fire hydrant down on the ground, that's an option here as well. Keep your torso tall, and it helps when you just keep your chin up, don't look at the ground. Okay, we're gonna do a push and a pull in shoulders. Starting with the pull, I'm gonna hold 8s for a high pull. If you're not comfortable with this and you wanna do a W instead, that's fine. All right, so high pull here. So for some people, if you do have shoulder issues, I would lighten the weight maybe to 2s or 3s, and you can hit that W right here. It works slightly different shoulder muscle. The W focuses a little bit more on your back shoulder, but it's still a pull action and great for shoulder development as well. But this one, you have to be cautious that you're not rotating forward with the shoulders. And if you have bad shoulders, some people might find this one not super shoulder friendly, so then do the other one if you need. Going into a push with our lateral raises, I'm gonna go really light with 3s. Okay, this is 3s or 5s are probably adequate for most. Shoulders low and back. Up to the side here, and you're coming down to your thighs. Okay, don't swing at the bottom, and just up to 90 degrees on the armpit there. Okay, let's go back to the top and into that sumo squat. 15, I'm gonna stick with that for the second round, super wide. All right, shoulders low and back, and drop the glutes nice and low. Squeeze at the top. Set it and forget it. Let's go back to the high pull or the upright row, or your W if you prefer this, but then go light, maybe 2s, 3s, or 5s. Control the down. And into your lateral raise. 2s, 3s, 5s. I'll pop up to 5s here. All right, roll the shoulders low and back, up to 90 degrees. Push, slow. I like to imagine myself doing like a snow angel as I push the snow up with my whole arm, using a lot of that upper forearm. That's where you're the strongest. And one more set. I have a 20 here, so I will pop up to a 20 on the sumo squat. So it's kind of like 10 pounds per hand here. Shoulders back. And we drop and squeeze at the top. Set that down and moving into your high pull. Okay, I'll stick with 8s, or you're doing that W, working rear delts instead. Roll the shoulders back, knees are soft. Pull. Good. And finishing off with your lateral raises. I'll go back to those 5s. Do whatever works for you, and thumb can be on the back side if that's more comfortable, totally fine. And push here. You just have to make sure you don't drop it, you have a good grip. But for some people, if you put your thumb on the top side of that dumbbell, it allows you just better, like you might have something with your wrist that causes it to feel like it's pulling something. So a lot of people will flip their thumb on the back side of that bar instead of underneath the dumbbell, not bar, but you know what I mean. 10 more seconds here, then we have one more circuit, so stay with me. Doing well. We're gonna include some abs coming up. Nice. All right, grab some water. You're doing well. Make sure you join me back. We gotta hit those abs. That's our foundation, that's our center, our strong center. So take a look at the screen and join me back. We're starting with some Romanian deadlifts. This is a hinging at the hips, a bending of the knee, but back is super flat. So start light or body weight until you get the form. I'm holding 12s. All right. So we hinge, 2, 3, power up. So reach the hips back like you're shutting a car door shut with your butt. Dumbbells will stay close to the shins, and arms will stay long, and back will stay super flat. So we slow the descent, 2, 3, then we power up with the hips, and you're squeezing the glutes at the top, but you're not arching the back. You're sort of tucking your pelvis under a bit. Nice. Let's make our way down to the ground because you've got a flutter kick coming up for abs. So, hands under your bottom if you like to support the lower back here. It's a big flutter this way. Let's go. And nice and slow and controlled. You're pushing the small of the back into the ground. And give those knees a bit of a hug. We'll flip it over for our plank shoulder tap. You can mod this from the knees, or you can just hold the plank without the tap. I'm gonna hold it from my feet and hands, alternating that tap right here. And here we go. So hips are facing the ground, bum is down, and you slowly lift one hand up, tap the shoulder, and alternate. But easily modified from the knees here. All right, so pick whatever works for you. Push up through the shoulder blades so they don't sag up there. And up you get. Set 2, moving back to our deadlift. I think I'll grab some 15s. Romanian deadlift, RDL, and hinge at the hips. So we slow, and then up. This is such a great exercise for you to film yourself doing. Okay, then you could just take the film, put it side by side on what I'm doing, and see if you've got some good form there. That's making sure that I have good form, but I think it's pretty good. Super flat back, hips go back, dumbbells close to the shins. Good. All right, let's go back to our abs. Yeah, it's a good way to compare. Like, is my back flat? Are my knees bent enough? Do my hips go back? Flutter kick here and work. You really feel those lower abs when legs are elevated or included in your ab work. Upper abs, not so much. The rectus, abdominis. But transverse is getting a workout here, isn't it? Boom. Well, the plank hits the whole ab wall along with your erector spinae, lumbar, obliques. It's like the queen workout or exercise. Shoulder tap and alternate. Pretend like there's a glass of water on your back that you don't want to spill off. So it's slow release of that hand, transference of your body weight. Let's hit our last set, folks. Okay, 20s. But if you need to stay light with the RDL, stay light. Do what works for you. Here we go. Neck stays neutral, in alignment with that spine. And down to the ground. Okay, we're finishing strong, folks. 2 more exercises. Let's go into our flutter. Hands under, push the back into the ground. And alternate. And give those knees a hug. 1 more exercise. Let's flip it over. You're doing so good. Killing this workout. Let's go into our plank shoulder tap. Finishing strong, everyone. Let's work. Tap and switch. Pushing up through the shoulder blades. Hand is coming under the shoulder. Drop to your knees if you need, but don't quit. You've got this, folks. And you're halfway through, so stay with me, almost there. Let's go. In 3, 2, 1 and done. You move daily in the best strength workout, full body strength. Well done, everyone. Thanks for joining. Let's stay on the ground, stretch it out. Don't forget to join our membership if you love. We'd love to have you. All right, let's make our way down to the ground, and we're gonna start right on the back because I feel like we need a little lower back stretch. Grab those knees again. Let's do little circles on the back, little stretch. Switch directions. Nice. Excellent. Okay, stretch one leg out, but you're gonna hold one. We're gonna stretch that hip flexor, draw the ankle in, so you're gonna stretch the inner thigh and the glute on the other side. Hold that. Super workout, folks. I'm always thinking about how am I maintaining my strength, my muscle, my bone density to reduce sarcopenia, osteopenia, osteoporosis, switch sides, my fracture risk. So all the things that I do for you in these workouts, that's what we have in mind, because I want you to be so strong going into your second half of life. And it's crucial. It's crucial that we fix the roof while the sun is shining, folks. I know it doesn't feel like it sometimes, but it truly, truly is. I think because we feel good today. And so we're like, I don't need to do stuff. Let's do a quad stretch here. Grab the shoelaces, push your hips forward. I had Dr. Nick Truby on the podcast though, and he just talked again about how important it is to lay down that bone density in early years. But if you didn't do it as much back then, it's never too late to mitigate the loss of bone mineral density, and that is a win, okay? So sometimes we think, oh, we had a DEXA scan, switch sides. It showed that I was osteopenia. Maybe my T-score or my Z-score were below 0, and it stayed the same a year and a half later. Well, in fact, if you're over 50, that's a win because it does go down with age, right? So if we stop the loss that's fabulous. If you reverse the loss, that's crazy and amazing, but there's lots of factors that come into play. The biggest one being consistency over time. Okay, like you can't expect to do something once here in a butterfly stretch, and then you're like, oh, I should have done something. It doesn't work that way. Darn it. But it doesn't. We have to be very consistent. And one of the things he said is, upwards of 15 months, anywhere between 8 and 15 months is what we want to be giving that consistency in order to see any change. And again, if you see it stay the same, that's a change. That's a win because it hasn't decreased, because it is decreasing. Does that make sense? Hamstring stretch here and hinge forward. Anyway, I thought the podcast with him was great. He gave one very easy introductory way to get some good impact load through the heel in a heel drop. And I'm going to show it to you in a second. Something that is super easy to do. And I loved switch legs if you didn't. I love the little cue he gave. Every time you brush your teeth, do 20 or 30 heel drops. So you're getting them every day. And it's such a low-hanging fruit. You know what I mean? You're brushing your teeth every day anyway. Let's reach across here. So if you can ring a bell and the dog will salivate, you brush your teeth, you're going to do heel drops. Like you set it up so that there's no pause point. Switch sides, right? There's no rub. There's no limbic friction. You just make it so easy and automatic. And when we develop that automaticity, that's what helps change us. It's got to be automatic. There's got to be no difficulty in doing it. So that is something, arms back behind you, stretch the chest. That is something that is very level, low entry, and anyone could do it. So, and studies have shown that it can make some difference if done consistently over time. So that's where you start. That's where you start. Not everyone wants to hop and jump, so that's a great starting point. Then you can progress from there. Let's round through the back right here, stretch each side. So I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to show you the 3 progressions, and this is something that you can do, begin to do for your own bone density over time consistently. And then I want you to listen to Dr. Nick Truby's podcast with me because we go through all of this. Okay, heel drop is tiptoes, land hard with a slight softness in the knee. Up, land. So brushing, land, brushing. Okay. Easy. Then is the quarter hop. So a little reach back, jump. Little reach back, jump. Super simple. But if you can't do that, you stick with the heel drop. And then of course is the squat jump. Harder, more challenging, more advanced. So you begin to work your way up in those progressions. But anyway, it's important. I hope you think so too. Click or tap there to listen to that podcast. Thanks for joining. We'll see you all in the next workout.